Let's go ahead and get into it, everyone. All right. Welcome to Scaled and Sales Intel's webinar, the top 5 modern outbound plays for next level sales. With us today, we have Raj Kara, our head of growth at Sales Intel. Just go ahead and take a second to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Ariana. I'm excited to be with you today. So yes, I'm Raj. I'm the head of growth at Sales Intel, dialing in from Maryland today. So good to connect with all of our attendees who are coming in from all over the country, all over the world. I'm actually a CEO for the last 25 some years, 30 years actually, dating myself, having built several companies, sold them to public companies, and I've joined Sales Intel as head of growth to have our teams start to scale faster, and to also share a lot of the background and strategies with our audience. So I'll try to share as much of my secret sauce, tips, things like that I can today. Our goal is to have you walk away with actionable tips that you can implement this afternoon, tomorrow, whenever you're ready. So that's the background on me. Jake, over to you.
All right. What's going on, everybody? It's great to see from you. Well, I really don't see any of you, but virtually see you. And for those of you who just joined us, make sure to drop in your company name and like job title too. It's always interesting to see if we have more kind of frontline folks or leaders as well. We can try to take the content that way. So I'm the CEO of Scaled. We are a sales consulting and strategy company, partner of Sales Intel, and we really focus on helping organizations to optimize their basically. I mean, there's a few different things we work on, but much of it has to do with optimizing the sales process. It could be top of funnel, middle funnel, current customer work. We also do a ton of sales technology implementation and support work. Which is why we're teamed up here at the team at Sales Intel today. So if your organization is, going through their next phase of growth or looking to modernize or optimize, that's really where we come in.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jake. We'll go ahead and jump right into the agenda. So today, attendees, you guys are going to learn about 5 outbound plays that you can leverage in your strategies, tactical examples for those plays, and then of course, best practices to actually drive that engagement. And with that, gentlemen, I'm going to pass it over to you and we'll be back for the Q&A.
All right. Thank you, Ariana. I'd like to just kick it off with one overall arching general theme here. So if we can go to the next slide, we'll just share why people buy stuff. Okay. So whether you're buying a television set, whether you're buying a computer, whether you're buying IT services, whether you're buying whatever your product sells, there's 5 reasons why people buy anything. It's usually mostly 3. It's to make money, save money, and to get rid of headaches. There are 2 others, and that's to look good and feel good. Oftentimes those are consumer-based things, but sometimes they're also B2B things. Sometimes people want to look good in front of their teams. And so as a result, some technology tools, things like that they buy might actually help them with that. So those being the 5 motivations, what we want to do is share ways you can navigate through things that are going on, such as events, triggers, things like that would invoke a sales play that you can use to actually get conversations started. So with that, let's take it to the next slide, and what's changed. So Jake, I think this one is yours, right?
Let's jump in. Yeah, I think for a lot of companies, whenever we think about what's working or what's not, just to kind of high level, we went back through like late 2000s. We had pretty much all very call dominant. We starting to get into some email. And then, we had this kind of rise of these sales engagement platforms in the mid to early 2010s that really started to make email cut through the noise much easier. It was easier. You're hiding behind a computer screen. You just hit send. It's great. But what's happened though, is as everyone is using these platforms, email as a primary motivator has started to decline in terms of its effectiveness, right? If everyone's starting to use a channel, it's becoming inundated, then it becomes, more difficult to cut through. And so, so what is this going to look like in the future, right? And we think if it's a mix of what worked before and what didn't, but some of the stats that we really kind of harp on here is just to understand how people are going to interact digital. And by the way, digital doesn't just mean email. And I think with a lot of sales teams, they think digital. They're like, well, I'm doing digital interaction, or like I'm occurring on digital interaction. I'm on email. It's like, well, there's a lot of other places, right? There could be review sites, could be LinkedIn, could be a lot of other places, right? And going into the second stat, which is that buyers today, and when we did kind of our own informal survey, that 86% of LinkedIn users are, are on LinkedIn to learn and to network, right? And 91% are there, like that. This is their number one place to go for professional content. And so when we think about some of these other stats here, right? Buyers, buyers want a salesperson who understands their space, right? We're spending more and more time on Zoom. This is just from our company, right? And we're a 35 plus person company. As we're engaging in all these different digital channels, right? And I'd even put text message in there as well too. That we have to be more cognizant of all the other channels that are possible. And so if your team is still just using email 90% of the time or 80% of the time, you're going to be at a massive disadvantage to companies that are using truly omni-channel, that are truly looking at all the different ways, whether it's addresses that you're going to need, SMS, cell phone, direct dial, gifting, etc., that you're going to need to cut through the noise. And hopefully that's what we're going to cover, these next few slides.
Yeah, excellent. Actually, let's go straight into the plays, because I think that's the piece de resistance today. We've got to really dive in here deep. So, Jake, why don't you take the first couple of plays and then I'll dive in.
Let's do it. Yeah. So the first thing I want us to think about is this concept of mail. And I think people are like, mail, like, wow, Jake, such a revolutionary concept. It's like, yeah, I know, right? Like nobody's ever used the mail to do things before. But let me tell you why we think mail in particular is important. Is most people still today, even if they are going back to the office a little bit, are sitting at home. And there are more and more of services, right, that will allow you, whether it's Sendoso is one who's our partner, there's others as well, to where really what we're seeing in more and more companies is you got to cut through the noise. And the thing that I'll say about direct sending is, I put on here, only send iPads if you're Apple or you sell an iPad product. That the thing that when we think about direct sending, it's about a combination of the thoughtfulness of the gift and when you use it. Meaning more and more what we're seeing is how companies are using this is, you engaged with someone one or two times, whether it's on LinkedIn, maybe it's a phone call, then you're following up with a personal message. Again, maybe another LinkedIn request. And then you're thinking about direct sending. It could be an e-gift card. But again, I'm a big fan, or a physical. And, for me, one of the things that I'm a big fan of is make sure whatever it is resonates. Make sure that the gift you're sending. So if you're going to send an e-gift card, don't just send an e-gift card and just think, because I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're me or Raj, a $5 Starbucks gift card for 15 minutes of our time, yuck. Okay. It's not going to work. But if instead it's clever, it fits in with what you do. Jake, we help to accelerate performance, right? I saw online you drinking a cup of coffee out of a Yeti cup. And I know that you drink coffee. And I saw this other thing that you are trying to accelerate sales. Let's set up 15 minutes. That is how you use gifting. So for everyone out there, don't expect a kitschy, gift to be what cuts through the noise. Make it thoughtful, right? So when we talk about this idea of gifting, I want you to think about warm it up a little bit. Let these people they've seen a few emails from you. They've seen something from you. And then make sure you make it relevant. The most successful campaign, and actually we got written up in a book about it, is we used iPads, but as a company that sold iPad waitlist management, right? And so we literally spent $10,000 on videos that we preloaded into these iPads, right? We sent them out and had a 75% meeting rate. So, and we sent it to executives. That is thoughtful direct sending. So
I'll add to that a couple of things. So very good examples there. I'll tell you what's worked for me and on me. So we used to send cookies, and I remember when we first started this campaign, we were talking about, let's use cookies, and everybody thought it was the little electronic file that you put on somebody. No, I'm talking a box of chocolate chips, really tasty, that moist stuff that you just send in a box, and somebody gets it, and next thing you know, they're actually engaging with it. Come on, who doesn't love chocolate chip cookies, right? So that's one way that actually worked. And another thing is when you send these travel mugs or anything like that, I've seen companies use their own branded versions of it. So they'll send me a travel mug with their company's brand on it. I haven't yet connected with their brand yet. So, I might use it and toss it in my big library of other travel mugs that I've been getting over the years. And maybe my kids might use it, but it gets lost on me. So one thing that I saw a very effective use of this is change it to the college or university that person went to, because they have an affinity with that entity already. So if you sent me a mug that said University of Maryland on it, which is my alma mater, I'm actually going to use it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to, use it proudly. And I'll probably have that phone call that you're trying to get me on. So those are two other ways that you can actually hone in right to that person's heart. Chocolate cookies, they go right to my heart. So, yeah. All right, Carl, thank you for the nod to go Terps. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So there you go. So again, I want all of you to just think about this, right? So again, just trying these creative touches, send a video follow-up. I love video follow-up as a part of this as well too. Meet over a Zoom lunch, and you're sending in Uber Eats, but again, don't just rely on the gift. Even when you send that Maryland Terps, mug, make it relevant,
yes.
Right? I cannot tell you how many people, send that shit, it's like, oh, Jake, oh, you went to Arizona State. So, okay, great.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. There's 60,000 students every year at Arizona State.
You got to make it
relevant.
Make it relevant. Yeah.
Make it relevant.
Yeah.
All right. Play 2. All right. So this one is another oldie but goodie. And I don't think there's anything that we're going to talk about today that many of you haven't experimented with or tried. What I want to try to get across thematically today is that these plays need to be institutionalized. They're not campaigns. And what I see so many companies do is, if it's outside of the normal, call, email, call, we treat them like campaigns versus the new normal. And so when I use the word institutionalize, I mean it in a very specific way that, again, think about how you can institutionalize these plays. It's not that we're going to do a gifting campaign. We're not going to have my sales leader follow-up campaigns. The companies that are winning today build integrated plays that they execute in a repeatable manner. All of these, what we're showing, you can execute these in Outreach or whatever your favorite sales engagement platform is. Every single one of these plays, the written by, the direct gifting, all of this. So the tag team, this is how to use your sales leader in the process. Many times, and again, I'll kind of talk about this. I got meetings when I was 28 with the chief talent officer of Intel. Okay. I think it was 20, maybe it was 29 at the time. Do you think I was qualified to reach out? Do you think I said, hi, I'm Jake Dunlap. I'm a national account executive at Career Builder. I'd like to set up some insane people, right? Instead, I said, my North American COO saw your CEO speak and he said these 3 things. Boom, boom, boom. As a part of that, he asked me to reach out to facilitate a conversation for us. That got kicked down from the CEO's office to the CHRO office to the head of talent acquisition. And then I went and I sat there in my probably poor fitting suit and I said nothing. I just sat there, right? I got a meeting with the CEO of Kimpton Hotels. Guess what? I leveraged my CEO. And so the concept, my friends, around running a tag team play is to know that if you want executive level meetings or higher up meetings, you need to bring the right people from your side to the table. Because when someone goes and looks at your LinkedIn profile and you got 3 years of experience and you've got your arm around your buddy from an old wedding pic, guess what? Not taking that meeting. But when a CEO or a leader or whoever that might look like reaches out or you're facilitating, that's what works. So the idea around the tag team sale here, my friends, is starting to kind of lay the foundation from an outreach standpoint, but then leveraging whether it's your sales leader or your executive team to get executive level meetings. Again, I have leveraged this play personally and set meetings that were way out of my ballpark that I had that I immediately knew, like, I'm just going to sit here and say nothing. I'm just going to sit here and let grown-ups talk because I'm like 30 and I'm way not qualified to be in this meeting. And so that's what this concept of the tag team play is. So everyone out there, again, I want you to really think about, are you trying to climb the hill or the mountain on your own? Stop doing it, right? Instead, this is a really, really, really easy way to do that. David asked a question about what platform. We use Vidyard. You know, Raj, I don't know if you all use anything else. We use Vidyard, and those also integrate with these tools as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We find video really, really effective too. In fact, I think just by putting the word video inside the subject line itself, you usually see an uptick of maybe about 19% in terms of open rates. We use Co-Video. That's actually the platform that our team uses. I've also run tests. I used to run an email marketing software firm, and we ran tests that are text only and text with video. And the ones that had video got about 3 to 4 times more clicks, more responses, just by having the video in there. And there's a couple of little tips you can use for the video also, that the opening part of the video, don't just have yourself, have a whiteboard that you write, "Hi, Sam," and you put that up, and that's actually the first screenshot that they see of the video. And when you send that to Sam, there's a higher likelihood that they're going to react, because they realize that this isn't a generic video. It's one that you created just for Sam. So those are little techniques you can use to increase your lift. So actually now we're on to, was there anything else you wanted to cover on the tag team part of it, Jake?
No, we're good,
Okay.
man.
All right, we're good. So let's talk about intent. This is, I find this really, really useful because it works. Every time I've tried it, it's worked. In fact, we use this technique ourselves. So the neat thing about the data that's inside Sales Intel is you can actually find trending topics for the markets you're trying to reach. So here's an example. Let's say you want to reach marketing firms that are looking for IT firms that want public relations help, social media help, things like that. So, well, let's say you are a marketing firm and looking for these IT firms. So that's your persona, that's your target market. You want to find people who are looking for this. So inside Sales Intel, you can actually do a search on IT firms. So we'll do something like, okay, show me all companies that do provide information security services, IT security services. And I'm looking for people that are between 5 million and 50 million in revenue. Maybe that's your sweet spot. So that's your ICP. Now add a layer. Show me people who are looking for topics like public relations, social media, digital marketing, things like that, that my firm could help with. So you'll get back the results, and it will show you these are the 92 companies that in the last couple of weeks were searching on those. So what, and then the beauty is inside Sales Intel, you actually see contact information. If someone's searching for PR services inside an IT company, more than likely it's going to be the director of marketing, VP of marketing, that level of person. So you can capture the contact information from Sales Intel and then start reaching out. The last thing you want to do is go to somebody and say, "Hey, I saw that you were searching for IT for PR firms. You know, that is creepy. It's scary. Do not do that. That's a big no-no." But what you can do is talk about services that you provide in a very structured way. I really love the way that Jake phrased how you approach people in that initial email. And then the chances are pretty good that you know they're searching on it. You send a properly worded message. Pretty good chance that they're actually going to respond to you just by knowing that type of intent. The other thing you can do is get competitor signals. So if you're selling a product and they're looking for competing products, you can also reach out to them on that too. And then to tie it all together, there's actually another feature we've got called Visitor Intel, which will tell you who's landing on your page that has been looking for things. So our team can actually give you detailed demos. We don't have enough time to go into all of those today, but those intent signals really drive pipeline pretty fast because you know people are looking for these products and services. So let's go on to the next play.
All right.
LinkedIn.
Let's talk about it. Right. And I think, again, like this idea of intent in general, right? That's where LinkedIn comes in, right? And these next two plays are really kind of around integrating LinkedIn. Hopefully many of you, I think Becca on our team is here. Maybe, I hope she is. If not, we can drop to where people, if they haven't tried Sales Navigator, there's a lot of things that you can do with Sales Navigator. But I'll just tell you again, I am shocked by how many buyers are active on LinkedIn. And more and more people, and the pandemic just went shoop, really accelerated that. And the issue that I see with a lot of people is that they're like, well, I'm not sure if my buyer, they're not posting content. What you have to realize, it's like less than 3% of people post, but most people are lurkers, which means if you click on their activity tab, you're going to see they're liking and commenting on a weekly and monthly basis. I cannot tell you, it doesn't matter, oil and gas, higher education, I cannot tell you how many times we've worked life sciences, we've worked with companies, our buyer's not there, they're not active, their profile sucks, other people. And then you go and you look at the profile, it's like, but they just liked a post like a week ago. So what does that tell you? They're logging into like LinkedIn, they're consuming LinkedIn. I'm going to talk about that more in play 5. But play 4 is really about the use of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator, my friends, the primary use case is not InMail. Okay. InMail also results. Okay. We've tested this a million times over. What LinkedIn Sales Navigator is, a couple of features in particular, and again, you can build all this out into your sales engagement platform, is around, again, connecting with people. And then what happens though too is when you save people as a lead in Sales Nav, and so best in class sales teams, what we see that they're doing is every morning they log into Sales Nav, and then you can do a filter on the home page that says lead shares. And it's just going to show you the people that shared a piece of content the day before. So for those people that are sharing actively, that's where I can go and interact with them. For the people that aren't sharing actively, that's where I can use the information where I can see what they're liking or engaging with to then maybe use that in an email outreach or cold call, right? So again, I want all of you to think about there's kind of plays that you can run and incorporate LinkedIn for when people are active. And I want you to imagine a world like, we'll take Raj, for example, or for any of you. If somebody comments once or twice on one of your posts in a short period and you don't know them, you will remember that person. You're like, oh, who's Paige Hanlon? Okay. All right. Let's see who this person is. Right. And then when Paige comes over the top with an email or a LinkedIn voicemail or whatever, that's a thoughtful message, I already have kind of a natural affinity for her. I'm like, wow, she took the time to comment, like, oh, I like that person. They're validating me and telling me good things, to the point that Raj made at the beginning. It makes me feel good. So that to me is a really important component of this as well. So I think, when you're thinking about incorporating LinkedIn, when you think about the connection request, I'll just give a quick tip. Either send nothing from a connection request, or it has to be hyper personalized. All of what we've seen, again, we've looked at the data. Do not send, I think we're in the same industry and I see synergies. Do not send, Jake, we're both sales. Don't. Stop it. We've seen the data. Either send nothing, just send a connection request, make sure you've got a good headshot and a good headline, right? And then, or go hyper personalized. So there's a lot of different ways to incorporate LinkedIn. That's just a couple. And then the last one I'll talk about here, and we'll turn it over for some Q&A, is about, again, and I kind of tease to it here, multi-threading. This is just kind of a little bit further variation, which is, again, after your first meeting, if you want to talk about mid-funnel use of LinkedIn, just connect with everyone you meet with. When you connect with everyone that you meet with, as soon as they connect with you, they start to see your content, right? You can start to interact with them. They show up in your screen. Last but not least, and this is, I think, maybe something that all of you, if you're in sales here, all 60 plus of you, there will come a time in the very near future. Facebook is actively running ads on internet regulation that is going to have a direct impact on email. I promise you, the US is headed in the next year to 2 years to different rules, maybe not quite Castle or GDPR like, to where getting through purely cold is going to be more difficult. The number one thing that you can start to do today is build a reputation. I'm not even a big, kind of fan of the word brand in digital channels, and start to build relationships. Whoever you sell into, make sure, again, you're emailing them now, you're getting consent to follow up, making sure that you're getting their email addresses, etc. That the future, again, I just cannot tell you, is for all of you in sales, if you want to cut through the noise as email continues to get pummeled, you need to start to establish yourself in your space. You need to start to connect with all the different buyers in your space, start to think about putting out content that's relevant to them, not to be salesperson famous, but to be famous in selling insulation and oil and gas. And that is what's going to allow you to cut through the noise in the future. That when you really think about the top plays, what we're seeing is these direct plays, like the first 4, and these indirect plays that are setting you as a seller up or a team up for long-term success. Because once you start to become someone who posts once a week about a trend that they see, or twice a week, people will start to seek you out. And so the key is the and. It's not or, it's and. You are running these plays, and then what these plays will help you to do is hit your numbers in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and 24 months. And so for a lot of you out there, I want you to really think about that. What am I doing today to make my life easier from all the different outreach tomorrow? And if you start to connect with your target audience, they start to see your content. By the time you reach out, it makes your life a lot easier. So when we think about these plays, again, these are really what we're seeing best in class companies do. You know, everything from, again, the integrated plays with video and direct sending, using intent data, which is so key, and then finding ways to incorporate LinkedIn. LinkedIn is by no way even close to mature into where it's going to be as a social network. I think we've got another 2 or 3 years where it's going to be pretty greenfield. So, go get started today. So I think we've got time. Ariana, you can tell me if we've got time for some Q&A as well, too, if folks have some additional questions here. We tried to cover a lot.
Absolutely, because there's so much value. Do either of you have a hard stop?
I can go a little bit further.
We can go a little bit longer if, as we need. Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and let these people come through our questions, and I'll go ahead and skip ahead. And don't worry, guys, you're going to get access to this in your recording and the deck as well. If you guys have anything you want to add in on best practices, or if we can jump right into the questions, we've got a couple coming through already.
Well, I can add to what Jake said about the, the experience that you want to create for the person you're trying to reach out to. Think about the way I look at it is imagine yourself at a dinner party. We've all been at a dinner party and you meet somebody new, you haven't talked to them before, and all they do is talk about themselves. So there's this joke where you just go to somebody and they're just talking about themselves. Well, how do you feel? You feel like walking away. Oh, I got to go get a drink. You make an excuse to get away from them. What they're doing is they're kind of saying, hi, nice to meet you. Let's get married. They don't even want to date first, So what you need to do is create a platform for you sort of, date. The last thing you want is, hi, let me tell you all about me. Oh, enough about me. What do you think of me? And so it's kind of just all about them. And you don't want to create that type of environment where you just go in and sell, sell, sell. You want to have that engagement. And that's really, really critical, especially as you try to sell on that higher level. People aren't always looking for your solution. They're looking for solutions to their problems. So dig in and find that out first.
And I think, Raj, the key that I hope a lot of people take from this is don't just play the short game, right? Like, build that now. That is how, it's why I feel like so many SDRs and salespeople are in constant frantic mode today. Not that they weren't necessarily before, is we're so fixated on now. If you just started a job, you're 6 months in, it doesn't really matter. Maybe you're 2 years in. These are the relationships that are going to help you to hit your number in 9 months, in 12 months, in 24 months. And so, my friends, the people that start to build that middle funnel, that midterm, that short term, that's how they make it look easy 6 months down the road. And 12 months is they're always building that midterm and long-term funnel too. It's like my reps, you would train, like, we're going to get that person. I don't know when we're going to get them, but we're going to get that person, like they're going to take a meeting. They're going to at least hear it. So don't just, sacrifice short-term all the time and only spend all your focus there to the detriment of making your life easier 6 to 12 months down the road.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, there's a couple of questions I think really great to be directed at you. So one of them is when it comes to adding LinkedIn connection requests, how many do you send a day for prospecting? Seems like you'd be put in some sort of LinkedIn jail by sending too many. What do you think?
Well, you didn't used to. LinkedIn just created a real deal jail to where now LinkedIn allows you to only send 100 connection requests every week. They're going to be rolling it out platform-wide. It affects most people now. It used to be you could send literally 100 every like 3 hours. So now, I just think you should just be maybe a little bit more targeted, right? And for a lot of you, that's like what, 20 people a day, right? That's not too crazy. And by the way, I would max that out every single week. My friends, there is no disadvantage to having a bigger network in your target market. None. Right? Like if I invited you to a trade show, would you say, well, I'm only going to give out 6 business cards because I'm so fancy? No, you'd give out 100. So max it out every week, 20 a day, make that just a part of your little get up, coffee, cereal routine would be my advice.
And I would also add to that, start posting stuff that you think your audience would be interested in. It doesn't have to be marketing material that your team created for you, because sometimes that might be, sales related, right? Yeah, it should be something that you read in Inc. magazine and Fortune magazine and the Wall Street Journal that you think would be relevant, and add like a 1 or 2 line slant on it on what you think that means. People are always looking for some sort of analysis, trend related information on how that can affect them. So that's always a good way to start building your own reputation as a LinkedIn entity, right? LinkedIn it's not like your company owns your profile. That's you own your profile. So you can create your own reputation. I mean, if you're not going to be with your same, current company in the next 5 years or 10 years, you still want to have a reputation. So that's one way to start building your reputation.
That's it. And I just want to double down on that, which is people want to hear from you as a person. So like if your company produces something, pull out some insights, pull out some sound bites, right? LinkedIn penalizes you for resharing posts too, just so you all know. So every time you hit reshare and you wonder why you only get 1 like or no likes and 0 comments, because LinkedIn wants original your thoughts. So just always keep that in mind too, and make sure that that's what you're putting out there. And I want to tell a story around what you just said, Raj. There's an SDR. What he started doing is once a month, he was writing a LinkedIn article, which was like a summary of some other stuff. And then guess what he did in his outreach? Oh, hey, I don't know if you saw this article that I wrote. And people are like, oh, I mean, he's not like your normal SDR. This guy wrote an article. And this guy is cleaning up against his peers.
I love that, Jake, because that kind of goes into this next question that we got, which is, what are your best practices for emails outside of the plays and tips that you already mentioned? Generating your own content would certainly fall in that. Do you have any others?
Yeah, I've got a pretty basic formula that we kind of consistently see be successful. And I'll just tell you what it is. And it's not too crazy, but I think most people just really are bad at execution. The first is, what do you know about that role and what they're going for, what they're going through? And what I mean by that is you have to know that role and the sub industry and the sub industry they're in. Manufacturing operations people. Well, guess what? A VP of operations at a consumer packaged goods company versus an industrial manufacturing goods company versus an auto company have much different problems. And what I see is that if you can demonstrate, Jake, I work with other professional services CEOs, and I know if you guys are doing project-based work, there's probably some stress around free cash flow. I'm just making up a pitch to me if you all do this. So you got to understand, as a 35-person firm, you're probably thinking about these 2 or 3 things. So I would say one is make sure that you get to know the trends with your actual buy, like what their actual trends are in the space. And guess what you can do? It's called Google. You Google industrial manufacturing trends 2021. That's it, right? And that's what I did. And then the second is sub-industry reference clients. Again, stop referencing Facebook and Pepsi and Intel, and nobody cares, right? When you throw together 3 big logos that are completely unrelated. So I think with my teams, what they were really good at doing is we would hammer in on the personas and what was top of mind and trends in their space. And then we would get really specific customers that we knew resonated with their segment. And so I think, to me, what goes into a good email is, obviously something personalized, but if the personalization is weak, but you can demonstrate, I get you, I truly get you. And I get you by showing I know what your challenges are. And I actually know that these people are your competitors or your complementers. That is what I think is missing today from a lot of email, is I think it's just too generic and too templatized.
Hey, Raj, you're muted.
Hey, thanks for that. So I will say executives do read unsolicited emails. I'm constantly sharing notes from my team that gets them. And throughout my career, people do read them, but I've always found that there's 4 elements to a really good email that will grab people's attentions. And it goes in line with whatever Jake just said here, because you want to acknowledge the problem, that you get them, you understand that. And the second part is proof points, how you can solve the problem. Third point is proof points, which means how you've done it for companies just like the ones that you're trying to talk to. And the last part is a call to action. A lot of times people just go right for, hey, here's what we do. And they give you this huge essay. Nobody's got time to, half the time we're looking at email on our phone, right? And especially if you hit somebody in the mornings, they're probably checking their email before they even get out of bed. And if you're trying to do this big long pitch, you're lost, you're gone, you're in the delete, or I'll look at it later and then forget about you folder. So, so that's one thing you want to watch out for. Tied into that, there's another question on what's the best subject line for a first cold email, and there's no magic bullet here. You really need to personalize it to that person. And so I'll give you an example. On the East Coast, the Colonial Pipeline had a ransomware attack several months ago. And if you wanted to get gas, you had to wait in line for a really long time. And so oil and gas companies since then probably wanted to make sure that they're buttoned down, that they've got their IT security. So the smartest IT companies should have been looking at who's trending, who's an oil and gas company trending on intent related to IT services, IT security, and send them an email that's related to that. So you would come up with a subject line, don't be the next Colonial Pipeline or something, so it's good. You want to tie that in together. It'll change, but I find that newsjacking is a technique, right? What's going on in the news, tie it back to your product and services. That technique actually works pretty well too. Jake, you got any thoughts on that?
Again, for me, when I think about this, it's if you can show that you get it and you're persistent. That would be step 2. Understand the very first email, almost no matter how beautiful it is going to get archived immediately. Got too much stuff going on. It's the 3rd, 4th, 5th. The people that win are the people that keep personalizing. It's really that simple. That we're talking about a lot of techniques here on how to make a higher quality. We did a correlation, team of 40 SDRs. We did a correlation between touch point 7 and touch point 17. 0 correlation on when the meeting was set. None. Touch point 17 was just as likely to set a meeting as touch point 7. So therefore, if I can't tell you exactly how many touch points it takes, most people, the number one reason you're failing, your messaging might also kind of be bad, but you could at least out persistence it. And I'm sure that you see that too, Raj. I mean, gosh, who is the most persistent? Like if you had to ballpark, I would say the average person gives up after 3 and the most persistent gives up after what? 5, 6 tops. So I think that's a big one. Most people just give up too early too.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I get an email that's like the 3rd or 4th, maybe even 7th email, honestly, and it's because, and it's not like on a certain period of time. It's not like somebody's sending me, hey, did you get my email that I sent yesterday? That you don't respond to that. It's again, personalizing, making sure that they're following up. But I like, oh yeah, I totally missed that because that particular day that they sent stuff to me, I was really busy and I didn't look at anything else. So, and it got buried. Couple of other really interesting questions, and thank you to everybody for submitting these. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all of them. Let me just cherry pick a couple of them real quick here. So, Jake, what's your take on prospecting 3 or more people in a target organization versus just one person? Any research you can use to support your answer?
Well, I don't know if we have like data around it. I just would never say, okay, here's what you have to understand. Job titles mean nothing. Person who's an operations director at one company could mean that they have 40 direct reports, and an operations director at another company has 0. And so if you literally are only reaching out to one person, I think it's almost delusional. It's almost delusional to think that there's only one entry point for an organization. Now, grant, if it's super SMB, then sure, maybe, right? So, my thought is like, I think 3 is actually a really good number. And then just make sure your value props are relevant to them. If it's an executive, I'm talking about strategy. I'm talking about the future and competition. If it's a mid-level person, I'm talking about departmental goals and priorities that I know are in the space. And if it's on the front lines, I'm talking about, best practices around simplifying or maximizing efficiency and effectiveness. And so the key thing is if you're going to reach out to 3 levels, have 3 different value props and show that you get it, as a part of it. And almost never do we see companies get penalized by reaching out to multiple people. So I just think reaching out to one person to me is just silly. Because you're really hoping that you hit the needle in the haystack, that this is the right person without even ever talking to anybody.
Yeah. There's one more question, and we're going to wrap it up because we're way past time, and we want to let everybody get back to their day also. But I really like this question. Jeff asked, how about asking a question that they may not be able to answer, such as a question that's only designed to make them think and not get actual information? What do you think about that on a call?
Depends if it's on a call or in an email. If it's in an email, it's annoying.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, so now you want me to like, oh, you're some philosopher now, and you want me to go like take some time away and think about it.
Yeah.
If it's on a call and it's smart, then I love it, right? If it's on a call and it's contrived, then it's yuck, right? So I think the question would be, can you practice your delivery enough to where you can speak to me at an executive level and deliver the question in a way that shows that you might even have a solution to it, and you're asking it because you understand trends versus you're asking it because it's part of medic and your SVP got trained and commanded the message. And so you're supposed to ask it, but you don't actually know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So,
here's a technique I use all the time, and it works for me like a charm. So let me share what I do. This is after you've already got the person on the phone, you're having this conversation. If somebody asks you, hey, do you do XYZ? Can your solution help with XYZ? Almost always, it's almost instinct that you just start answering their question, and you start going into all the features and solutions and things like that, maybe stuff like that, examples for case studies, and you answer their question. That's actually the wrong answer. When they ask you a question like that, try to respond with one of these statements. Tell me more, or help me understand, and then follow up with an appropriate help me understand finishing statement. What you're trying to do is not be the one doing all the talking. You're in discovery mode. You want them to do the talking. So the words tell me more, my favorite words in a sales call, really start to elicit why they have the problem in the first place and what they're really trying to get out of it.
Yes, what a great one to end on. And
Yes.
we call it go 2 times after they say, tell me more. Okay, interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Right.
That is where you're going to find the gold.
Mm-hmm.
We call it why 2 times. After almost every question you ask in a discovery, tell me more 2 times. That is everything in a discovery.
Yeah. In fact, take a sticky note, put it on your computer, and say, tell me more. So when they ask it, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get yourself to do this. I gotta be quiet and try to get them to do all the talking. So with that, thank you very much, Jake. We ran over time, but I hope everybody in attendance got a lot out of the conversation. For follow-up, you can see the contact information that we have up on the screen. Ariana, any other notes to wrap it up?
No, just know that you guys are going to be able to get this recording in your inboxes tomorrow. I have taken a screenshot of the questions that we didn't get to. However, some of you are anonymous. So if you'd like to get those answered, please feel free to reach out to our panelists or just follow up in the email that you'll get from us. So either way, we'll be able to get you those answers. So thank you everyone for joining. Raj, Jake, thank you so much. I learned a lot on the session just listening in, and hope that everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.